Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. Town Council acting as a town council for the West Warwick Civic Center budget workshop, public hearing. Number one. Mark, do you have anything else? 6:03.
No, again, the director has prepared a budget that's balanced, but again, it's just a target to guide us along. So it's a really challenging to get exact numbers since the expenses are typically based on the bookings and the revenue generated.
Laura? Do we do a roll call? Okay. We'll do
I wasn't gonna cut you off.
Keep me on track here.
Sorry.
It's warm out. I wanna go.
Councilman Benson?
Here.
Councilman Charlie?
Here.
Councilman Beth here?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
Council President Gosel?
Here.
Quorum is clear.
Before we get started, Jay, we do some prayer.
It's not on this one.
She's not get out of the way.
All right.
We ask for the wisdom to make good decisions, to speak with confidence, and listen with compassion as we work together to create a better way of life for the people of West Warwick.
Jay, who's gonna pledge allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Hi again.
Hi, how are you?
Do you want me to go over it or you just, okay,
It's a public hearing.
all right.
Gotta go over it.
So again, as Mark just stated, that this is more of a guideline. If I don't have rentals, I don't have employees, I don't have supplies, I don't do anything if I don't have rentals, but good thing I can sell ice to an Eskimo, so we have lots of rentals. We have a phenomenal summer program that is built into here. And the field house obviously is used by every league, every middle schooler, every high schooler. And we have brought an array of different events, something for everyone, from a reptile show to card shows that's really big and new. We actually have 2 of them coming up soon. We also have a quilt show. We have lots of craft fairs, all that good stuff. So, you know, one of my main goals when I started working here was that the buildings got life back into them, and so far we're succeeding in that. And that's just thanks to everyone that's involved. But, and I do have a phenomenal staff, I will say.
One thing that was brought up to me by a resident was you have concession stand revenues, but in the budget, you actually have vending concession supplies with no line item there.
Right, so just in the overall budget, it just falls into under, and I'm not sure why, and that might be a Kristen answer, but it just falls under supplies and expenses. So it just all kind of groups there, but when I see it, it is broken down, so I do.
Well, I have a couple questions on the staffing.
Okay, and they work for peanuts, they're wonderful, and the things that they do is great.
All right, so you have a part-time Civic Center lead maintenance tech.
Yep,
What is it?
so he's the person that changes the blades on the Zamboni. When someone accidentally breaks one of the exit signs or one of the alarms in there, he's the guy that fixes it. It's great.
Okay, but, right, it's 30 hours a week.
Yeah,
What's the schedule like, or?
so he's mostly during the days, but obviously like when we have tournaments and events, like he will come in for those too.
Come in to do what? Like,
He'll
that's my
make the
question, what do
ice.
they do? Like, what do all these people do?
So everybody pretty much does the same thing. So you're cleaning, you're making the ice, you're maintaining the field house, you're making sure that people stay on schedule. So, you know, obviously we all know that everybody's willing to take that extra couple of minutes. So you do have to kind of shoo them away when their time is up. So it's a lot of time management, and a lot of people management.
And what about the part-time team leader, 30 hours a week?
So again, same thing. I mean, you have to remember that building is open from 6 o'clock in the morning till sometimes 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night.
What is a team leader? I don't know
He's just-
that term.
It just manages everyone else too, like, you know, he'll be the person that is there, so say a high school hockey game. So I'm there more of a crowd manager, making sure everything's good upstairs or, you know, things like that, and he's there down on the floor, making sure that the locker rooms are clean, making sure that people know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to go, which locker room, who's gonna do the ice, who's gonna, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, you have to go out, you have to dump it, you have to shovel it when it, the Zamboni comes off, there's lots of stuff that's, you know, it can be anything. I mean, a couple times there's been a piece of the ice that's popped out and a piece of the glass that's popped out during a game. So you have to be able to be on your toes and put it back in very, very quickly.
So that person does that and not me.
So the maintenance person, if they're not there, that person does it. So during a game, you're not gonna just say, okay, we're gonna cancel the game because the glass just popped out of the little channel. So you've got to get out there and fix it right away.
Lori, last week we talked about the secretary position,
Yeah,
and I didn't realize it at the time, but it's not accounted for here, right? In
it
your line
is,
item?
no,
Okay, so
Nope.
it's not, you don't obviously plan on doing anything with that position?
no, I actually took, I actually have one person that is there. And we started doing some new things this week. Just because, you know, I did listen and I was like, well, you know, I gotta let the reins go a little bit at some point.
So how does that fall into this?
So
Is that-
she's still a maintenance person, like
Okay.
she still, you know, would fall under that, so.
Okay.
And again, if there's no
So it's one of
rentals,
your
none of
existing
these people
people.
actually exist.
Right, it's one of your existing people.
Whole roles.
Yeah. I mean, and you also have to remember too, there is a lot of downtime too. I mean, they can't be out there washing the floor when you got a basketball tournament going.
How are we now as far as revenue versus expenses?
We're doing great. We're positive.
Is that, you figure that's a trend for the rest of the year?
Should
Or
be.
you-
Because the summer camp revenue's gonna start pouring in,
Yeah, so you have
Next
to,
this fiscal period?
because they'll pay before it starts.
yeah. So you have to remember, I always start out in the rear because everyone pays for their summer camp prior to summer camp actually happening. So they, you know, prepay, you know, a lot of it is the way that the payment plan is set up. It's 2 weeks prior to the camp actually starting. So all of my expenses will fall in the following fiscal year.
So anything that happens after July first, would that be retro back to this year, or would that go
No,
towards
because it's
next year?
happening in fiscal year 27, so it will be charged fiscal year.
But I can't hold on to the revenue.
So there's a
So the next
mismatch
year.
between revenue and expense.
So we just
Yeah.
incur all the expenses, and then at the end of the fiscal year, the revenue comes in.
Yeah.
and takes-
So if some year we decided not to do the summer program, and we did it the year before, we would probably end up in the red
Right.
day.
Any questions from the council on the civic center budget?
It sounds like what Jason was asking is that you think you need everybody that's there.
Yes, Yeah.
Okay.
I will say that,
I mean, do you have 2 or 3 people at the same time? Do you make sure
yes,
that,
I always have multiple people, just,
but
um,
is that necessary, I guess is the question.
yeah,
I can see 2, but do you need 3 people there depending on the timing?
depending on the timing and the event too.
Okay.
Just, you know, crowd management is a big thing.
And are they all certified? I know you
Yeah.
are. They are. Okay.
I make sure everyone gets certified, everyone is CPR, first aid certified too. There's just a lot of moving parts that are always going on there. And I mean, things that you never think that could happen. I mean, last year, there was a little girl, she was just walking, it was during a game, and the puck came up over the glass and it hit her in the side of the head, like, never in a billion years would you have ever thought that. She didn't even think of anything of it, and I saw it happen, and I was upstairs, she started walking, she had blood dripping down her face. So, but would that ever happen in a million times again? Probably not. You know, it was just the luck of her being there.
And you do keep the ice in the summer, right?
I do.
There was one year you didn't for.
I didn't, yeah.
Because there were
Yeah.
issues with the.
Yeah,
children and
yeah.
all that.
No, I'm good now.
You have a hard
No.
time filling that time during the summer?
No, actually, my summer is booking up really nicely. It's so nice of Cranston to take their ice out and do some maintenance this year that, I'm getting all the extra. I didn't know that Friday was considered a holiday too. I took that 5 a.m. slot.
This Friday?
Yeah.
Whoops.
So-
All right, that's all good.
So one more question, with the advertising, I know you have 25,000 in
Yeah.
revenue,
That is a goal of mine.
but if we haven't been doing that, I know the budget has to match. but
Right, right.
Where are the numbers, the actual numbers coming from? Because you can take all your expenses,
Yep.
and they could be $100 or $1 million.
Mhm.
But the revenue that comes in really should be based on prior years and what we have been doing, otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
So yes and no, it doesn't make any sense. It's a double-ended sword there. So would I like that revenue to come in? Absolutely, a million times over. It's just I run out of time. Like every single day, my day is completely booked and I just don't have that time. Is it a goal of mine? Yeah, absolutely. Can it be achieved? Absolutely. I just need a little bit more time. I need like 10 more hours in every day.
So I know with the Arctic Village Association years ago, when they started the banners,
Mhm.
I know I sat down with Barbara because every year she was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, the Civic Center does
And
one.
well,
Yeah.
so when we have a startup program for the banners, there's a price, I think it's $300 or $400 to get the first time. So, and then a yearly renewal. So it's $100 every year or 50, whatever it may be, $50
Yeah.
renewal.
Yep.
So once we get advertisement up there, the cost of the banner and the cost of everything should be a startup fee. And then possibly doing a yearly renewal, keeping the banner right where it is, but if you renew,
Absolutely,
if you're not
I have
gonna
a whole
renew, we take you
package.
down. And then if you take
Go
you down,
forward
then
with
you
it.
start over.
I mean, the only thing that would, so the dashboards, when we do the dashboards, they do have to be replaced quite frequently, or they just, the whole rink looks like crap, because they just get
Well, yeah,
ruined.
but that's all, it's different if they're on the boards and just
Yeah.
hanging up on the wall, they have a little
Yeah.
bit more of a shelf
Yeah.
life. Right?
So that's the only.
You're not forever, I'm going a time, not now, with sometimes they do places that can exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we need to look at because.
Absolutely, we do.
are not getting the advertising. I see banners up there all the time. There's banners up there right now.
Yep.
And I guarantee you're not getting any revenue for those banners being up.
No, they just kind of.
They should be coming down or have them renew. and
I know, the
get the
problem is to
revenue.
get them down now, I need to rent a lift.
Yeah, the AVA, I mean, the AVA does.
Again, I call them companies and say, hey, you sponsored here. We're taking your banner down, or you can contribute now.
Well,
Because you're giving free advertisement right now. Far as I know, Dave Goslin walks in there.
Mhm.
He sees all these banners. To me, they're sponsoring everything that's going on in there, and they're sponsoring nothing.
Okay,
They sponsored once, but they're not sponsoring every year. And they should be sponsoring an advertisement every single year, whether it's on the fiscal year or whatever.
so I will make it my goal by the end of April to call every person that's in there, and I will ask them if they would like to continue. If not, then in May, I will get a
What
scissor
do you-
lift and I will take them all down.
What did you charge to put them up there originally, do you know, a rough
I think
estimate?
it was
We have a
like
nice
$800.
truck with a ladder. We have a bucket truck. We have many different things I can drive in there and remove. Except for maybe on the ice side, but definitely
Yeah,
on the.
you just come up with a price that's a
Yeah.
renewal, it doesn't have to be that much.
No, I have a whole package. I'll actually just send it out to you guys, the package that I have in place already.
So what do we have for advertising right now? Because we're at the end of the fiscal year. So what are we taking in from?
So I have
July 1st,
Live
we're-
Barn that gives me
Just a
money, I
number.
have Mini
I don't
Mills,
care who, just I need a number.
couple $1,000.
You can make it easier, a couple thousand more, just saying you wanna keep your thing up there without having any radio, that's
Exactly,
probably right.
yeah.
$250.
Yeah.
$250 to keep it up there, something like that, people would, I'm sure that if they paid $800 to put it up there, $250 to keep it per, I don't know, a year, I mean,
Right,
I think when,
a lot of people.
I know when West Warwick hockey reaches out, the high school reaches out to all of us. I know for their golf tournament, you get your name on their little banner up there, so it's $250.
right.
Yeah,
And
you're in
you
the
could
golf
definitely
tournament
keep
too,
it down, too.
but it's $250 to.
Yeah.
I know I donated, it's $250 a year. And, that's revenue that went to the hockey rink, to the hockey team. So why aren't we doing the same thing? That's
So he
something
puts
that-
his banner up and takes it down.
Yeah, but we have banners up all the time.
Yeah.
And it's free advertising right now for companies that are not sponsored anything. That's what I'm saying. So I'm just trying to help you,
Thank you.
Trust me, I know times are tough for businesses, but they like their advertising because
Yeah.
advertising goes a long way. And if it's free advertising, that's even better for
How
them.
many banners do you have up, like, rough?
Three both
Three,
buildings,
four,
about
five.
24.
No, I don't even have that many.
You
I
could-
mean, I have
10
the
just in one.
championship banners up. you know, theirs, I'm not gonna take their
No,
down
but-
or be like, well, you have to pay
No,
for
the
those up,
advertising.
you win a championship,
No.
No, I meant, how many advertising banners?
less than 10. I would think.
I think you're wrong. Count the civic center
One,
alone.
2, 3. I know there's 3 right above the door, over there.
Doesn't matter, if they haven't paid, they should be down.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, we're looking at years now. And I don't know how many years for.
You can easily make a few thousand just
I
by
mean-
calling and saying if you want it up there. this is
Yeah,
what's-
so that's my plan. By the end of April, I'll have called everyone, and if they don't want it up there, then we'll take it down.
And the plan moving forward would begin for July 1st to have.
Then you renew it, yeah.
Any questions for Lori from the council? Any public comment on the civic center budget only right now? Just come out, state your name and address for the record.
This just comment or question?
Comment, question, ideas?
Question.
It's open for.
Good evening, Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. I'm way behind in keeping up with this due to some health issues, but I do have some questions. What is the income, the revenue from the concession stand?
The concession stand,
Yeah,
it's
ballpark,
probably
at, take an average for the last 5
over,
years.
last 5 years.
Just,
I mean, $3,000-4,000. That's it. It's not anything crazy. Not a lot of people come to hockey games anymore. A lot of people watch live bar. It's not anything like out of the ordinary. I mean, we're selling waters, Gatorades, hot chocolate, popcorn, and candy bars. That's it. It's not, I mean, if you have 50 people at a high school hockey game at this point, you're lucky.
that's.
So they watch it live?
Yeah, you watch it. Like, you can sit at home and watch it right on your
Lori,
your
what is
live
that?
stream.
How does that work? Does Libarn pay you to?
So
put their
Livebarn
thing?
pays me, so every so often, like, I'll just throw it up on our social media, there's a little link there, they use the code and they pay us for it. And it's nothing crazy, obviously, like, most people pay month by month, and then when their season's over, they stop. I mean, we only get, it's not like we're getting, I mean, I think it's like $12-14 a month for the
From
subscription.
Libarn?
No, for their subscription,
Oh,
for
yeah,
you to buy.
yeah, I have.
So we're
or
only
used to
getting,
have.
yeah,
So does
But
that,
what does Libarn pay us to put their cameras in?
what was the last check?
That was in marketing right now. We got a check for 412, we got a check for 574.
Is that per month?
No,
End
what?
of February, that's the total,
Yeah.
987.27.
so that's the
It's probably
advertising money we buy.
almost two. No, that's.
So that's
it's
2
just
quarters,
Live
2
Barn.
quarters is about $1,000.
So it's probably $2,000 a year for
Yeah.
live barn.
So where does that go into this?
That goes into the marketing revenue.
Advertising.
So is that in addition,
Advertising, yeah.
that is in addition to what we've taken in? Or is that,
No,
that's what we've taken in?
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure they're paying that
So-
same fee to all the
But,
other
you
ice
know,
rinks and
I-
stuff too.
Reports for the civic center, we're projecting to come in 40,000 over for the year without those revenue sources, those 2 that we're talking about meeting what they're.
So we're making
budgeted at.
extra revenue somewhere else.
Yeah, because of the warming shelter, we get revenue for that, we're getting almost 45,000.
Is
So
that in here too?
that's not a budgeted item because it's not a guaranteed revenue stream.
Yeah.
So this year, that revenue has kind of replaced some of the ones that were not the marketing that wasn't performing yet.
So what is your role in the warming? Tom, I know you're up there and I'm trying to
No,
ignore
take
you
your time.
because it's
No,
just prompting
please.
more questions.
We get the rental, it's like a rental.
It's like a
fee.
rental?
Yeah,
yeah, so we clean, basically they're.
So what do, again, show by the paper, what does you and your staff do for that?
A lot of cleaning. A lot.
Is that, so that's included in
Yeah.
these wages here,
Yeah.
they would be doing that one?
Yeah,
And-
I just
and
wanna
also it's
clarify
just-
something, because I heard some muttering in the back. When Lori said there was downtime, they're not on the ice or doing whatever, they are cleaning bathrooms, they are doing.
There's stuff to do,
They're not
I
sitting
get
in
the
the
job.
office waiting for something else to
No, I
be
get the
done.
job, I'm just
They're
trying to
doing
figure
other
out
things.
here, because there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of moving parts
There's
to
a lot
this.
of moving parts at all times.
So the vending and concession revenue is $18,000. Are we
Can we get there? Yes, we can.
Have we been, well, no, we can get to a lot
Yeah.
of places, but what do
So
we
I
have now?
don't have I don't set up, so I hold the food license through the state. So we can have the concession stand, we can have one in the field house, we can have one in the ice rink. There's just so much stuff that's always going on. And I mean, to have a tournament and to be running the concession stand and to be taking care of the bathrooms and, you know, it's just a lot. It is a
No,
lot.
again,
And
I
it's,
totally
you know,
understand.
you're not gonna make that money in concession, I'm sorry,
But-
unless I'm selling, you know, sodas for $4 or $5 a soda.
So. I'm just looking at the number says $18,000.
Yeah.
How far away are we from 18,000
Probably about 16.
away?
If you look
Yeah,
at,
'cause
if
if
you,
you-
for this
But you
year-
also have to remember though, I have the summer program that comes into play with there. So I mean, I'm making $130,000 on the summer program. I'm renting $450,000 of ice.
I'm just
I
looking
mean-
at voting on the like we're voting on this
Right,
budget.
so
but
I
the
think that
numbers
we're
are
really
not
hung up
making
on this
sense.
advertising. The Civic Center is, yes, should it have advertising? Can it have advertising? Yes, absolutely it can. But at the end of the day, I'm one person. It's like, I mean,
So-
we could hire someone else to do advertising, but we're gonna lose out on money.
I'm looking at
So-
$43,000 in revenue we're saying is coming in, and it's not.
and actually so maybe
So-
this will help. At the end of February, Kristen provided the financials for us. And at the end of February, February 28th, 2026, the marketing income was, as Kristen said, $987.27. And the vending machine revenue was $2,818.74.
It's just the vending machine itself.
So, and they're projected out, so comparison to to be 5,000 each at the end of the year. So it's significantly less than what is in the budget, yes.
So why are we putting this, if we're getting money from other sources, that's fine, it's great that we're getting more revenue than expenses. But why are we putting these numbers in when we know they're not true? That's,
All right, so I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit. This is.
I'm sorry.
please.
So
Don't let this roll, it's important.
when we talk about the Civic Center, what you're looking at right now is a proposed guideline budget. So it's not really, no tax dollars go into this at all. Everything that is paid, everybody that is paid there, every soap, paper towel, everything comes from the rentals. So no money comes from tax dollars in the Civic Center whatsoever. So is it a guideline? Yes. Is it a goal to meet that advertising? Absolutely it is. But if we don't and we make up that money somewhere else, it's never going to hurt us. As long as I mean, I'm very, very confident of being on top of what the budget is every single month. And knowing exactly where I am, knowing what's coming in, knowing my rentals that are coming in, knowing what my schedule already looks like for next year, knowing that I'm going to make that bottom line. Somehow, some way, I'm going to make that bottom line to make sure that every single person stays employed and everything is paid for. Would it be nice to have that extra money? Because right now, if I made that, what'd you say, $40,000 for that?
25 and 18.
Okay, 25 and 18. Do you know where that money's gonna go? It's not gonna stay in the Civic Center. It's gonna go to the general fund. So none of the money that comes over the amount of money that the Civic Center brings in stays within the Civic Center. It goes to the general fund. So as long as I'm covering what the expenses are with my revenues, anything extra is just a bonus for the town.
I understand how the budget works. I'm just looking at these numbers and they're not making
It's a
sense.
guideline. It's
Right,
not
so
really
essentially,
technically
if
a
you
budget.
want to lower those numbers, lower them. But to have a balanced budget, you're just going to increase another revenue line.
Exactly, but that's my point.
So if that makes somebody feel better,
In the end.
lower
it's an
them to the
enterprise fund.
appropriate
Yeah, no,
amount
Right, it's an
and
enterprise
increase
fund.
one of the other or two of the other lines. That will be the target goal.
She also is planning on revisiting the fees, aren't you, in May?
Yeah,
So increasing the
fee.
fees, which will bump up revenue as well.
The only thing I'm gonna point out on a little bit is whatever extra revenue, I'd like to see $250,000 of revenue coming our way and So whatever revenue we can get in the end to help the taxpayers and keep that place open. You know, yes, if you're breaking even and bringing us another $50,000 a year, thank you, keep doing it. You know, and if there's a way to make another $43,000 up, then keep doing it. Bring 100,000 in. Because at that point, Laura, I don't think if you're bringing in 100 grand to this town at the end of the year, I don't think anybody's up here gonna sit there and complain about, an $18,000.
No, but I
concession
mean,
stand.
It's not
I do
gonna
also
play.
No,
say.
Looking at the numbers, it's
Please
not,
don't-
it's not
yeah,
true.
No, what I'm saying is nobody will be up here questioning an $18,000 item if we're making $100,000 in revenue, right?
But again, it is a guideline
So
goal.
that's your aspirational goal.
That is my guideline, that
Yes.
is my goal, that is what I hope to be able to do. If I could just like clone myself, we'd be good.
I don't think we could handle that, Lori, but yes.
No, please don't.
I'll even take it one step further, like, I understand that any overages in revenue come back to the town. I would love to be able to let you keep that and paint the place and make
You can't
improvements.
though,
And
according to the law,
We have-
because it's an enterprise.
It's just the way it flows.
Yeah.
it's just,
due from. the-
But again, if she comes to us and say, hey, I need to paint the building, I need 40,000, it's easier and more palatable to say she made 100 and we can give her 40, no problem out of that, right? It's very palatable. You know, so. I get both sides of this, but it's, when the revenue comes our way and then she has in her next year's budget painting or whatever, if she comes to us or you come to us and say, hey, Civic Center made 100,000, they need 40,000 for an improvement. 60,000 gonna go to general fund, 40,000 gonna go to the improvement. It's. You know.
No. I didn't even ask for any capital.
I don't think
That's a
anybody-
good thing.
I know, I figured I'd be nice this year. All right.
Breaking
Tom,
breaking even is not the name of the game.
No, of course
We
not.
always wanna jump ahead. Chief Levine, he lost a car, rolled it over, we need extra, so any extra can go to help this department or that department or what have you. We're one town with many people that work. But going back to this concession stand, concessions were always a gold mine.
They were always
And-
gold, and I will
and
tell you,
if
because I ran softball, so we made a ton of money.
Yep, my question is, who purchases, who's the supply of all the things that we use in the
I go
concession?
to BJ, I use coupons
You
too.
go to, you go to BJ's, and who runs the inventory? Cause I know that a number of years ago, 4, 5, 8 years ago, we purchased a POS system,
We did,
and where is that? Still in the closet?
still in there.
Has it been used?
We do not use it, it's a cash only, because
Well,
the consumer has to pay the amount of money for the credit card.
understood, but a POS system does not only run on credit cards, it runs on cash.
Mhm.
You can hook a cash register up to this. That way, I know that Jason brought in 2 cases of Coca-Cola at 25 cents a can. And Mary Beth sold 48 cans of Coke at $1 a can. So that's 48 times 75 cents profit. There's no way, that's what it is. Now, simple little bingo, 2 nights a week at the church, which 100% of the revenues go to running the school. So just the concessions, we used to average $30,000 a year, 2 nights a week for bingo.
How many people do you have?
What's
How
that?
many people do you have come?
Well, that's, you have your reptile show. How many people come to that?
So that's not my show, I'm just the renter, I'm just renting the facility out to someone else.
There, I think we're losing. If you're renting the facility out, that it should be using the facilities concession stands. There's a huge profit in concessions.
I don't
If
have
you
a
look at,
concession stand in the field house.
well, put one. Put one. There's gotta be room in that building to put a concession stand where we can sell soft drinks, potato chips, get a fryer later, french fries go crazy, popcorn
We
machine.
do have vending machines in there.
What's that?
We do have vending
Vending.
machines.
The vending machines.
No, I'm saying, I just want.
So we fill the vending machines and we empty the vending machines. Is that,
Yes, we have a vending machine that we fill and we empty.
okay, so we know how much is put in the vending machines this month and how much revenue was taken out of the. That, to me, that should be in the budget. We should be showing what we're making down to the nickel. Because we just said 40,000, but it's only 18,000. That's a $22,000 difference in my math.
You're confusing two different items there.
Yeah, I combined two, Tom, I combined the vending
Oh.
revenue and advertising revenue.
I see, thank you for that clarification, but, concession stands are a gold mine, and you can't convince me that in a few short years, concessions are not. I just don't know, and you have what, 25 people coming to watch a hockey game? What happened to hockey? The place used to be loaded, standing room
As she
only.
said,
You can watch it on
from
home.
Yeah, well, why do we do that? I mean, how much are we making? Is it worth it sales, ticket sales?
Well, that was done through COVID, Tom.
Yeah.
And that-
That COVID's
But now, but Live Barn is doing baseball, basketball, everything, for the same convenience that where the council meeting is live. If somebody can't get there, they can watch it from home. The same reasons why, like, grandma and grandpa can't get there, they can watch their grandkid on TV. You know, I mean, that's why Live Barn is his own company, and, you know, it's good and bad, okay? It does take people out of the stands. The only time the stands fill up now is usually during playoff or like a Hedrick and LaSalle game or something like that. So, you know, and I know both of us frequent the ice rink a lot over the years, and yes, it used to be packed. You know, West Warwick, Coventry, you know.
West Warwick and Coventry are not even their own teams anymore.
Yeah, they're, you know,
Everyone's a co-op.
we got Coventry and two other teams.
6 schools.
I didn't know anything about this beach barn thing.
You do know about the beach barn, I
What is it?
Live Barn.
Live barn, I knew nothing of this, so this.
And you also have to remember too, people have changed drastically. They've come in, they don't behave correctly. A lot of people don't wanna go and watch a game to have the person standing on the side of them screaming and acting like an idiot. So it's much easier to stay home and you get a better seat, to be honest with you, watching the game, you can see everything.
Okay, that's was my question. I just think there's a lot more ways to increase revenue, not only in the civic center.
Keep it on this budget for now.
Right, it's difficult, but I think there's more ways to make money. And seeing the income versus the expenditures should be on the budget, we should see that.
So actually, to your point, Tom, if you look, Kristen, when you look at the monthly budget, you have that breakdown here. So if that breakdown that would probably be more transparent if we could actually have. You have concession supplies and expenses here, which are only at the end of this February, $1,799.92. If that could be broken out, just like the vending machine revenue is broken up too, that would probably at least give us a sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
vending machine, I mean, part of the concession, and that's.
Correct. Yes.
Vending machines, okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the Civic Center?
Good evening. Mine is numbers crime. And I have no personality issues with this. I'm a numbers guy.
All
I'm
right,
okay, Mickey Mouse.
I'm a numbers person.
Okay.
Got it.
And half of this I don't believe is your fault.
Okay.
Am I getting this corrected? If there's any positive cash flow from this, it gets automatically diverted out.
Correct.
So she never has a reserve.
Right, that's the way the accounting works. They expend money, it comes out of our general fund. They owe us, we get money, it comes into our general fund, it reduces what they owe us. And I think, I don't know, it's been carrying what, about 800,000?
It's about an $800,000 deficit over the
From
years.
the original,
Yeah.
when they revamped and put the roof and the solar panels on.
Correct.
Solar panels, I mean, right off the bat, she starts off with an overhead problem of $160,000 a week.
Mhm.
If I'm
And
reading
I
it
also
right.
start off with the summer camp next too, so.
Right, so summer camps, the wages are $100,000,
Mhm.
the expenses are $30,000.
Mhm.
That's a wash.
Mhm.
There's no money made
Mhm.
in that. and having nothing to do with you. I, for the life of me as a businessman, cannot see how we run a civic center. Okay, that is probably one of the only areas that you can generate income. That we're just looking to have a wash. Now, if I opened my company and I had a $2 million budget, and I only had $2 million at the end of the year, I'd stick the key in the door and close it, because I didn't make any money. I'm just spending my time there.
But this has to be a balanced budget. That's how it has to be presented. So that's the difference. And as an enterprise fund, as Kristen said, if you took all through the years, and at one point, we actually talked about putting a charge in to repay that, but that'd be kind of silly because there is stuff that needs to be done up
So
there.
John, if she put $100,000 of additional revenue in her budget, it would increase the revenue side of our budget and lower it, but now at the end of the year, she doesn't have that 100,000, the town has to cover that $100,000 loss. That's the
The
way they.
accounting method is different than running.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
This is like a
it's a-
joke.
Well,
So
no,
a service to the town.
Okay, if she made $40,000, you carry a balance sheet? So in other words, you know that she made $40,000 in the plus
I do,
side.
don't worry.
we would know.
She also reads it to us every month on a
Yes.
monthly report.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of that information is here. So for anybody that's looking at any of these revenue numbers, we think it's just a wash.
I think originally, when we were in the deficit, how many years ago, it's been several years that we've been positive. I think we said as a council, like, the goal of the Civic Center is, even if it is a wash, the service provides the community. I know it's not, because she was
Right,
saying
and
much.
I think that everyone is missing the point too. There's a lot of things that happen at the Civic Center that are not charged to other departments throughout the town
Correct.
on a daily basis.
Trainings, education. So, the one thing I want to point out also, I was on the council when there was two other council people, and I don't think there was nobody here except for me, and I wasn't in favor of it, that wanted to board it up and rent it out for like storage units or whatever, right? At that point, I know the importance as a father, as a coach, as you know, no, the amount of children that we would put out of town to go to Cranston, to go to Warwick, to go to college doesn't have a shrink or a field house. So we would have, at that time, would have been, that's it, no more Civic Center, no more, and I already know, I would have heard it from the Lamb family, and I heard it from the McGarrett family if that was ever shut down. But at one time, the council was contemplating on saying, it's costing us too much money, because at one time, that was running a $300,000 deficit per year. Over $300,000. When I came in here in '06, there was sometimes it was a 370, 400. That's why we privatized it. And then we went from a minus $300,000 deficit to $250,000 positive. So if you take that, it's over $500,000 swing in our finances. So that worked out great. Ultimately, the rental did not work out that great because I'm going to blame the town, and we were not a good landlord, and we had a bad tenant in the end. Partnerships broke up and everything else. When the town took it over, we kept the importance in what it's going to be needed for: school, education, gyms, winter, especially in the winter. Get the kids out of the classroom, get them up there, get them moving around. Did I see it to be a woman's shelter at the time? No, but it's revolved to that. It's when we've had crises, the floods of 2010. We use it as a shelter. We have used that building on a daily basis for other things. As Laurie said, there is now, and it makes no sense. If you're going to charge the school to use it, then they're going to increase their budget. If they're going to charge the police department to use it,
Just shift them on
the
the.
fire department. So there's a lot of stuff that is not in here that people
But
don't
they're not
realize.
taking away though from rentals, are they? Like, I mean, so if you have the police department doing their training there, and it's not being,
Schedule anything
but
during
it's not,
that time.
right, but it's not being used, it's gonna be mostly off-peak time,
Right.
then why not? And that's the whole goal of the community aspect of it. I mean, to me, I would like to see it used from whatever time you open to whatever time you close every day. That's the goal,
And that's pretty much what happens every
you
day.
know? So,
But some of the things are not charged.
but they don't have to be.
Right, but then at the end, you're looking for this extra revenue, so.
No, I'm not looking for extra revenue, no, I'm not. I'm looking for, where it says here, advertising income is 25,000, and we're not even close to that. And vending concession revenue is 18,000, we're not even close to that. And if we can't make it, we can't make it,
But again,
but don't put it on there.
It's a guideline. It's a guideline to say, let's make this a goal.
But just a question for me. If this is a budget, how can it be a guideline?
Not, it's a proposed guideline budget.
I know, but
It's what you-
is this not, don't take offense.
Okay, I won't.
Okay, this is screwy to me, believe me. When I
Again,
get into this other stuff, I gotta pull the book, but it makes no sense. If you have a budget, this is supposed to be a budget,
Mhm.
okay? And somehow you have to put in all the numbers, which is easy, to
Mhm.
balance it.
Yep.
Okay? Now, I could train a monkey to do that, but it's a budget, so if you have fictitious numbers, then this isn't a budget. Am I missing something?
again, guideline. Like, that's what it
It's an
is.
enterprise
So-
fund that's supported by the user fees, so the more users, the more revenue, the more expenses.
No, I get all
So
that.
a few years back, I did actually change budget to guideline, and I probably should have kept it that way.
You know, and like I
And
say.
moving forward, that's what we'll
I'm
send on.
not saying this is your doing, but the format.
So the format is an accounting,
Zero sense there.
it's an accounting habit that happens, and it is, we don't have a choice in that, that's how every enterprise
But it
has
just
to
gets
be.
progressive
Right,
under
so
some
that's
format.
way above all of us too, so that would be like whoever started accounting.
So I think the format, if we could go to something closer to what we do on a monthly basis, would probably benefit everyone. So if you look at the February financials, it has year-to-date revenue of $574,000, and it has year-to-date expenses of $521,000. So that shows that it's a profit. It doesn't look like it's going to continue that way. It's going to be, it's projected to be 830,000 in and 819. So there'll be $10,000 extra that will wind up coming
You have a whole
down.
bunch more numbers available to
Yes.
you than.
Well, they were made public the last time I presented the.
So they're presented at the monthly meeting.
Every month.
You basically have a trial balance,
This is the format that we have to use though for this
but
purpose.
this doesn't reflect the trial balance.
No, because it's just her proposed budget.
All right, same thing with, the
But the
same thing with the
expenses,
numbers.
the detail of the expenses are in there.
So you have trial balances for the rest of these departments and so forth and so on. In other words, if I asked you,
A trial balance is revenue, is assets, liabilities, revenues and expenses. This is just a snapshot of the revenue and expenses.
yeah, this is,
Mhm.
your trial balances.
It should
that you
give
keep it-
everything.
Is that?
Yes, that's part of our accounting system.
So my question is answered, I don't have the information.
But it's also on the audit, if you want, if the audit that is on the website.
So if you go, every month it's posted with the agenda. And as I said, I just pulled it up for the meeting that we had on March 17th, I think. It gave us February. So every month it is there. And again, that format might make a little more sense. And then we know as we go through the year, we're more familiar with it. So.
Well,
Lori on that.
that kind of clarifies my.
Yeah.
My issue.
So, yeah, every month Kristen comes up, gives us a financial report. She goes through, she reads this line by line. And that is posted on the agenda, so you can see that. Now, I get what you're saying. It's budget season and, you know, you're faithful usually coming to the meetings, so you would probably be able to see it more. Others don't, and they come out during budget time. They don't see these numbers, and I get what you're saying. You'd like to see, for the average person, being able to see those numbers and understand.
Yeah, because, you know, you're a counselor, you're supposed to understand these numbers if you get the numbers. The people that do come here kind of catch on, but the average person, you give this to them, they're not gonna make
That's
sense of
gonna be,
this.
that's
at all.
gonna be in any budget.
No problem.
I mean, you have more experience than most, John.
We've got a packed house over here after all that advertisement, like nobody cares. And we sign the budget and give them a tax increase and they'll all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then you'll all be caring, but I don't, I mean, this is a joke.
Yeah. So the format, I think.
Mine doesn't have anything to do with that tax increase.
No, no.
That's noted, that'll be in the minutes, okay? That's a, noted, yes.
All right, I have a little better understanding because a lot of these categories where, you know, you got $10, $30, $40,000 supplies and this and that. It doesn't break up anything
So,
per item.
so the
I'm
reality,
used to looking at my stuff and my son's stuff.
yeah,
I can look at those categories and say, I need to cut this because I need it here or there. But this is just the generic supplies. With, you know, the average person really say, well, what don't they read?
again, that format, a change in format will help some of that. It won't get to it exactly. The reality is Lori knows what she has to spend. You pointed out, she has $160,000 expense without doing a thing. It's because of the amount of energy that they use. That's how it gets allocated. She has pension fund costs in there. She has medical, she has wages, all those things. And then she has to come up, because it has to be balanced, she has to come up with revenue. So if you want to reduce 25 to 5, she's going to wind up putting 20 somewhere else unless she's cutting people up top. That's what it amounts to.
It's going to be color added on one side of the line or the other side.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not used to doing that. But
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment on the Civic Center? Any comments from the council? That's,
Adjourn, at least go.
yeah, we have to adjourn, but this is budget hearing number 1. We'll have another on the 7th. If you have any other questions or concerns, you can also reach out to any one of us if you'd like to. Here,
Motion to adjourn the Civic Center.
Second.
move second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Laura. Go right in.
Go for it.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. It is now 6:51 PM. Town Council Budget Public Hearing number 1.
Roll call, Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Councilman Lichardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
And Council President Goslin.
Here.
Or Mr. Claire. Public hearing,
Oops, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, public hearing, the proposed fiscal year 2027 municipal budget.
Mark.
Good evening. We have completed the 2 public workshops where we started the process of reviewing and vetting the proposed FY 2027 budget as presented by the respective department heads and town manager. We are currently at our first public hearing where the council will make adjustments to this proposal after considering public comment and welcome input. Our department heads have continued to be considerate of the town's fiscal constraints and the fluctuating status of the economy while drafting requests that will support the continuation of the services expected by our community and provide for the upgrading of the infrastructure necessary to offer these services safely and more efficiently. Our finance director, Kristen Benoit, continues to keep us on a reasonable and conservative path. Our recent budget processes continue to be affected by the uncertainty of the finalized state budget and federal funding sources, the national economy, inflation fluctuations, and rising supply costs. How these all affect our FY 2027 revenues and expenditure planning is a work in progress. Some key points on the FY 2027 budget as originally presented a few weeks ago now. The total budget increase is proposed at slightly more than $6.5 million, which is inclusive of a little more than $4.1 million in municipal expenses, $1.9 million for school state aid pass-through appropriation, and a request to increase the school department local appropriation by approximately $500,000. The levy increase is 4.0% or slightly more than $2.8 million. The approximate tax rate increase is 4.15%, which may fluctuate slightly based on the tangible annual returns that have come back. And as I conclude, Finance Director will offer the updates that were effective as of this morning. The numbers have changed slightly. Capital expenditure requests were eliminated in my proposal with the exception of a small placeholder amount for roadway improvement projects. We hope to restore several key needs if funds become available or federal, state, and private grants and aid get awarded. We have fully transitioned into the employee retirement system of Rhode Island. The rates provided by ERSRI have been applied to all pensionable salary types within their respective departments. The legacy plan ARC has been increased for FY '27 by a little more than $406,000. A little more than $44,000 applies to the school department and $361,000 applies to the municipal departments. A 5.2% increase in our healthcare working rates has been applied. Transition to the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust for Healthcare Management has been successful. The actual increase is 8.21%. However, we have excess funds in our medical and dental internal service fund that will cover the excess increase. A 7% increase was applied to our property and liability insurance premiums over FY '26. The workers' comp line was not increased as the premium came in less than expected in FY '26. Work-related injury expense is included in that line as well. The tax collection rate remains at 97.7%. We do have a planned use of fund balance or our savings account for FY 2027 in the amount of $1.5 million. This includes $1 million to cover anticipated litigation costs in some pending tax matters and $500,000 to cover the request by the school department for an increase in local appropriation. Debt service is increasing by almost $1.2 million in FY '27. This is inclusive of an additional $1.3 million for the new school building bond that was passed at last fall and a reduction of approximately $100,000 in an existing debt service that's falling off. Again, we look forward to collaborating with the council to craft a finalized budget that will be in the best interest of our hardworking and deserving community. I believe we are targeting May 12th special council meeting for budget vote. I'll turn it over to Kristen now for those updated numbers.
So before that,
Sure.
any questions for Mark before Kristen gives us the updated numbers? Anything else?
So I got updated assessed values from Sal today, so we're at 4.05% on the tax rate increase, but we're right at 4% on the levy.
So does that mean a savings from what you, like in dollars? What does that mean in dollars?
Not in dollars. The budget has not changed. The budget can't change until you guys change it, but the assessed values that drive. So if we get more assessed values, that always gets given back to the taxpayer. So where I was projecting, I think 4.08% tax rate increase, now it's 4.05.
Okay.
Any questions for Kristen? Start off with the school department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As I mentioned at the recent workshops, the FY '27 proposed budget for the school department is $79,667,753, which is an increase of 2.3% from FY '26, or $2,560,585. When we prepared our budget, we have the same goals that we do every year in mind: to present a balanced budget and keeping in mind education and programming to support our students and their needs, compliance with education law, regulation, and mandates, make sure we're keeping up with our pension contributions, and also the consideration of future budgets. So, as I just mentioned, this budget is a 2.3% increase over this current year, and it does reflect an increase in appropriation from the town of $500,000. This budget is balanced with a projected state aid contribution of $43,938,012, which is a $1,169,322 increase, over FY '26. And this also includes the high-cost special ed allowance and money dedicated for MLL services. Our original budget for FY '27 equaled $82,998,144, which we knew was an unreasonable request of the town to support that budget. So we've already made reductions that equal $3,330,391, which include reductions in staffing, which will mean layoffs, as well as projected retirees in the amount of $2,280,700, a reduction in the substitutes and coverage line of $350,000, a reduction in our charter school and CTE programs for students going out of district, a reduction in $200,000, and a reduction in transportation of $150,000, and another miscellaneous $50,000 reduction. As we've talked about the past several years, our challenges with our budget largely wing around the things we can't control, the unfunded mandates for programming, curriculum, as well as the tuitions for students in DCYF placement and out-of-district special ed placements. This year, for the current year, FY '26, the out-of-district special ed tuitions in DCYF tuitions are $88,478 per student. That's a rate of tuition that RIDE sets for the current year, and we don't get that number until the fall of the current year. So right now, we're planning our budget for next year. We won't have that tuition rate number until September or October. So
Increase?
Not since I've been around, it hasn't. I wouldn't expect it unless, and we've talked a lot about, rallying and working with the state, which we have, to make these tuitions more reasonable. And we're not the only district. Every district has the same problem.
Is that projected number, what's that based on? Is that based on typically you're having this year and the year before?
We have no say in that. RIDE, it's a statewide.
I'm talking about numbers of children, like those falling off or those coming into the district and
So, right, so when we think about the budget number, so this is the tuition rate. And so we make a projection based on the students we have now, and we never know who may enroll otherwise. So we just have to make a reasonable prediction. So just to give you for reference, in 2023, that same number, which is $88,000 this year, was $43,000. So just since 23, it's gone up that much. So that number, for instance, for out-of-district special ed students at 62 students, that's $3.3 million in tuition that we have no control over. For students in DCYF out-of-district placements, 10 students, that would be $560,000 in tuition. Again, we don't have any say over. So again, as we've mentioned, the past several years in particular, those are the things that really decimate our budget and that we struggle with. So, as we mentioned, that's our increase in appropriation from the town is a request of $500,000 this year. And we also know we've got a building project going on. So Payon Street is projected to be open for September. And we don't predict a big increase. The increase for that school will be just the operation, the electricity and those types of things. The staff, everybody that's at the staff that's at the alternative program at Quinn now will just move over. So there's no, the following year, as we know, we're all excited about the new Quinn Elementary School to open, but there will be an increase with opening a full elementary school with the pre-K attached. Our plan, as I mentioned before, is Fifth grade's going to go back to the elementary schools, which means that staff will be pulled out of Deering. Some of those teachers will go to the new elementary school, and some of the teachers from the other grade levels will move from Greenbush, Horgan, and Wakefield Hills to the new Quinn School. So the majority of the staff for the Quinn School we already have. People will just moving around. They'll be moving around. We will need some additional staffing, however. We'll need a nurse, additional office staff, custodians, and it's the related service providers that we're going to need to see how that plays out in terms of our goal. And what we do now is share related service providers, speech pathologists, occupational therapists, amongst our school. MLL teacher, multi-language learner, always stumble on that one. Teachers, right now we share them amongst schools the best we can before we hire a full-time person for a school. So we need to see how that plays out. I do anticipate that to be an additional need for the new Quinn School though. And the other piece will be transportation. Right now we've engaged that agency Cropper to do our demographic study for us, and that's going to help us decide where the boundaries for the districting for the schools will be, and that will give us the information about the transportation piece. So keeping all of that in mind, we kept all of that in mind when we created this year's budget as well.
So Karen, so Quinn will transition, would that only pre-K, would be Quinn to the town?
Yes, yes, all the
And
people
that's
will be
the-
Quinn.
So then Quinn will go pre-K to 5?
Correct. That would be the only school that's pre-K to 5. All the other elementary schools would be K to 5.
Actually, that's a separate wing that's being
Right.
built or modified or for.
That's one of the additions. One of the additions is the pre-K and the other addition is the gym area.
Any questions for Karen?
There's no questions, but we'll be honest here. Your 500,000 is not in our budget per se. It does not impact our tax rate. We're in a situation where we would take it out of surplus if needed. We understand that you have an unknown in that the governor has decided what his budget should look like. And you know what the number is there, you put that number into your budget. We won't know until June sometime what the legislature finally passes for an enacted budget. So, you know how I feel about the schools. However, I think what Mark and Kristen have suggested works for both of us in that we will keep it sort of, I think what they're suggesting, and I'll let you guys speak, is that we sort of keep it aside, earmark it for the schools, but not actually hand it over until we know what the budget from the state is, what has to happen there. So if indeed that happens, then there will be a maintenance of effort that we'll have to worry about, but that's something. So that's kind of what, and I'll let you guys speak.
Yeah, but we had, just as a side note before I forget, we heard today that, you're right, the General Assembly will vote on the governor's budget in June. But I believe it's April 15th, we should have updated recommended numbers from the budget. So that's a little additional information, but
You might get some, but the truth is horse trading. And
Yeah,
you can say
I know
that.
that.
It goes on right until the last day of the session, probably, where the budget is voted on. Yeah. Or beginning of June anyway. Yeah. So.
Right. So logistically, I think I agree that the town definitely understands the demands placed upon the school department. And again, as the superintendent mentioned, we're challenged with two things. First, the uncertainty of what the finalized state aid number will be. Obviously, we hope and pray it'll be higher than what the governor's proposal is, but we truly don't know. And the second part is operationally, we can't absorb $500,000 in our operational budget. So our suggestion would be on the school department side that they would amend their budget to show last year's appropriation, which is $500,000 less in local, and $500,000 in miscellaneous income. That keeps it out of the local appropriation maintenance of effort for now. And on our side of the budget, I had already moved the revenue source to our savings account or general fund per se. In general government, I forget the name, I think it's actually called general fund, we would more or less put the $500,000 there. So in our mind, for lack of a better phrase, it would be encumbered if it's needed, but we would not need to transfer it unless the state does not increase the state appropriation by at least $500,000. And we would not need to do that if we needed to do it until the third quarter when we're allowed to transfer funds. And that would keep it out of maintenance of effort for now. And we'd be able to address it then. And it doesn't affect our operational budget at this point, nor the tax rate.
Well, and it can't, I mean, we committed that we wouldn't have more than a 4% tax increase, and we're at 405, so we've got some work to do to get down there, and that doesn't include the 500,000. So I also want to say, because we talk about if we don't get this much more, we could get less. So that is something that is possible, but until we know, and you're right, on April 15, we may have an idea where that's going. Maybe, yeah, but,
Well, you know, I'll just say that I think that that's a very good solution. And our other challenge outside of the tuition to payments we can't control is that state aid number. We have this problem every year. It's just a guess. And some years we've made out extremely well, got a windfall that we would never have expected. And over the past, I think all the years I've been here, we've gotten some increase, not as much as that one year where we got 3.8. So we've been fortunate, but, you know, I also saw in the governor's budget this year, or early numbers this year, some districts I didn't expect to be cut were cut a lot, like some of the urban districts, and it really surprised me. So you don't ever know. But I think, you know, we've always been committed, the school department, of working with the town council for the good of school department and the town. And we want to continue to be good partners. The town's been wonderful in supporting the school bond and the project, and it's very exciting, but we also know that we need to continue our partnership for the good of the all. And so I think that's a good suggestion. And then we'll see what plays out. And at the end of the day, it's very important that we educate our children to the best of our abilities. And there are some mandates, there are some contractual things that we just have to do. Yeah.
And
that's the frustrating part. You know, we try so hard with the things we can control, and we're going to lay people up again this year. And, you know, what happened last year is we may need some or all of them back, just depending on enrollment and student need. You know, that's the other unknown. It's so frustrating to feel like we've done our part locally with what we can control, and then the state tuition numbers and transportation rates we have no control over that, you know, causes problem. So we'll continue to work with the state and, you know, locally if we want to band together and think about how we can have a voice that's going to be important. I think
we need to do a road trip to the state office and do
Any questions for Karen?
Karen, one that thought right there, and I might have asked you this question already, but does RIDE ever tell the municipalities how they arrive at that increase every year?
No.
So they're, for lack of a better term, breaking the backs of the municipalities over this particular item and don't have the courtesy to tell us how they arrived at that number.
Correct. So for instance, the DCYF tuitions go right back into the state general fund.
And I think numerous communities are starting to raise that concern, because it has gotten astronomical. Like you you said when it was 30-something thousand, maybe it was palatable, but now at 80-something?
It's not, the eighty versus what,
Year.
yeah.
It's gonna be 103 next year if everything holds true.
Right, just for point of reference, it's at 83. What is our cost per student here in West Warwick? Closer to, that, our per pupil is 18,000 and change.
And then a poverty thing of about 22 and change.
22 for
Yes.
high poverty,
Yes.
correct.
So that's a big, big difference.
Mhm,
Because you're paying for everything, but not just.
That's right. Right.
You're funding DCYF?
Mark, do you know if the League of Cities and Towns is doing any work in that regard?
I know they're active on the school funding formula and it's a little broader than that, but I don't recall something specific to.
So we might sort of light a fire under them too, if we can. And I see Mr. Cologne coming up to say hello, yeah. Yeah.
Just a couple things, so.
Just state your name for the record.
Louis Cologne, West Warwick School Committee. You're right, the amount and the lack of courtesy, but the amount is essentially being raised at more every year than it would cost to the district. So for example, if a pupil is 18,000 or 22, like if we go based on what you just extrapolated from 2023, it looks like in 23, it was 43, and then in 24, it was 63, and in 25, it was 80, right? So at 88 now. So if all things hold true, Mark, to what you're saying is that it could be in the 100 stratosphere, which those increment raises are higher than it costs us in the town to teach. That's part of our budget. I brought that to a couple of the reps. They've kind of tasked me with trying to find out what those increments were over the last 3 years so that we can try to set a meeting up with Ashley, and forgive me, from DCYF, who's the director of DCYF, to say, hey, listen, can you explain this to us? Where does this money go? Why is it increased? And to Karen's point, the increase doesn't happen until all of this happens. So we're going based, like last year, we went based on 66 because that's all we can go on. And then all of a sudden it's 88. You know what I mean?
You hit the right, the word is why.
Right.
Why is that going?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
if we're doing the building project and all of a sudden it's more money because of the cost of material.
We have an answer. Right. I have an answer for that. Right.
And they don't seem to have to answer to us. And
Right.
this is just, I mean, I can see it. I mean, it's gonna cripple the state.
Well, the reality
It's
is.
not just West Warwick.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
And the reality is that DCY has a budget. They get a budget. They're meant to operate on their budget. And so for us to do this, if you think about 2 million or 3 million from a school district times 39 cities and towns, well, what kind of budget is that? That's over and above their present budget. And so that's a huge number. And so I feel like it now at this point, we have to.
Correct.
It behooves us to try to see about getting some answers as to why this is happening at this rate, because it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, we've been up in arms about transportation, and that's another issue that's very similar, and there've been some inroads there, but transportation pales in comparison to what these numbers are.
I mean, per pupil, I mean.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not the whole 3,000 kids that we have in the district in that pupil, but the reality is that it's however many people, I think if we're at 30 pupils roughly in that number, that's millions of dollars that could be, like if we double the 18, if we double the 18 at 36, like you said, it's palatable. It's not great, but it's palatable compared to 88.
Right.
It's no brainer. Like, I don't know why that's happened, but
Even the transportation, all right, gas goes up, right? So that has to go
an
up.
explanation.
You know, you have to, right, there's an explanation.
Rates go up, and there's an hourly increase in
We have
minimum
an
wage.
explanation for acceptable, but you can at least see something from it.
Right.
Rate increases, there's a minimum, a raise in mandatory minimum wage, right? So there's a way to explain why things go up. But for this, there's no rhyme or reason. That's been explained to us. It might be. And so I don't want to speak out of turn, but the reality is that it would be nice to know so that we can come to you and say, this is why it went up this much, right?
And therefore we can go to the taxpayers and.
Exactly, and then we can pass it and understand, at least people can understand what it is.
And if
So,
anybody understands, anybody who's a foster a kid, there's an expense behind them. They obviously pay the families to foster, then the education. So I'm just a guessing person, but I'd like to hear more. I'd like to hear what their revenues are throughout the state, because they gotta have a revenue side, right, on their budget. But I'm guessing we're funding almost everything. The payment of the families, the payment of clothing, the payment of schooling, the payment of food, the payment, so that's just my guess, but I think that's the way DHS and DCYF have probably said, let's put this on the backs of the communities because. Sure. I mean, and it makes logical sense, but Warwick is a small town and it has 30, 40 kids. I can only imagine what it's like in Providence or Cranston, Warwick, where there could be a lot more. If that was
I don't have that answer.
No,
The numbers.
It's also, if that were the case, then they should be going to the General Assembly expressing what their needs are for their budget for those kids, for those programs. That we can, and then we get it, and then we get our money, and that doesn't have anything to do with us. When the child then goes to whatever district that child goes to, then our $18,000 per pupil or 22 follows that child, just like it would if they were to go to Coventry or move out of district or be out of district, you know? Like, we have kids in the CTE programs that come into us. The money follows that student and it comes into our programs and vice versa. But that's how it normally works. But to then send a child literally like a block over, I mean, if you're from, if you're on New London, if you're on this side, you're in West Warwick, you're on this side, you're in Warwick. So now I gotta pay 80,000 or 88,000 instead of 18. It's just a crazy number. But I don't normally come up, but I just wanted to come up, express that. But I also wanted to thank you guys for your consideration in putting that money kind of earmarked, because I think it's mutually beneficial to the town and to the school, but also to the taxpayers, because you're not having to give us that money that continues to follow us. If for some reason the 1.2 we're expecting, we get the 1.5, then guess what? You guys only have to do 250, right? And it saves the taxpayers that much money. If it ends up being 1.7, then it's zero money that comes to us. And so therefore, I think it's a smart approach to it. So I'd like to thank you guys for that.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Any questions for Karen? Any public comment on the school budget? Just come on, state your name and address for the school budget.
Dennis Campbell, just I don't know. I was just wondering, is there like a certain standard for the teachers? Because I've noticed that the STEM rating hasn't been like above more than average, and we're kind of like spending excess amounts of money, and we're still not getting like more than like a C plus, B minus within our grading system.
Not sure I understand your question.
Math standard proficiency, sciences, and what? Well, it's within.
I just want to make sure. He's saying we're spending a lot of money on it.
Yeah, because I had my son in West Warwick schools for a while, and I love my son, but I didn't see him getting the education that he should have been getting, especially for the amount of money that we were putting into this. I actually ended up having to pull him out and put him in green. And so that even green school is not even that much better.
So bring him back to West Warwick and won't cost.
He's graduated already. Okay. But this is me personally, I think that like educating the kids is like the greatest thing, because they're our future, and I don't see them getting educated. I see them. You walk into any store and you give them like a $10 bill and have them do the math in their head and to try to do the change. It's just not happening.
Okay, I think I understand your question now, so I'd be happy to answer it.
Please.
So I think your original question was, are there standards for teachers, for educators? And there certainly are. So to keep your teaching certificate, or in other words, your teaching license, you have to continually do professional development, take classes, you have to continually learn.
Great on that.
Yeah.
Is there like throughout the year, is there like do you grade your teachers for the?
Yes, every staff person, actually, every certified staff person is evaluated yearly, including administrators, including myself.
Okay.
So if that's really your question, there is a standard of evaluation for all certified and licensed school employees.
Okay.
Now we're getting way off budget.
Yeah.
That was another one too. If we depend so much on the state funds to give it back to us, like within this, I love the school, how it's being expanded and what for, but we're expecting, what, 60% back from, 68% back. Rhode Island State is not exactly doing the greatest with their budgeting, so to kind of like expect to get money from them would be like pulling teeth.
It's a set aside, it's not part of the budget, it's that.
Right.
So it's already, there was bond money that was put up that people voted on, so that is money there, it's not, it's.
But I'm just saying, like, how they give you criteria that you have to follow, but yet at the same time, they're not giving anything back to us.
Yeah.
Well,
So
those
it's kind of like.
I see your point. To Mary Beth's point, it's kind of two separate.
Right, so Karen talks a lot about unfunded mandates, the things that I'm doing nothing, we're required to do in the schools. But there's no money associated with it, so that's a big problem. To talk about your STEM stuff and your science stuff, one of the things with the school building, is we needed to upgrade our science labs, and we're spending $7 million somewhere in that neighborhood to do that, so we can meet the standards that are required. So we are doing all that stuff. But yes, and I wouldn't argue with you, but I would debate whether there's no education going on in West Warwick.
I'm just saying, but it seems to me like we're throwing all kinds of money at the school systems, but yet you would hope that
Society's changed.
The GPA would come up a little bit more.
Well, there's two things to that, and one, the state is, like superintendent said, the state's not held liable for a lot of things, including raising these rates, but they're also not liable for Title 16 like we are. They can reduce the state aid to the town, so automatically, if her budget is, I'm sure, $70 million, her budget's $70 million, and 40 of it's on state aid, and they decide to cut state aid by $2 million. Well, yeah, and on top of that $2 million, that's our tax base for. Where we as a town, if we give her $30 million a year, we can't say we're giving you $29 million without legislation, basically. We went through this in 2012. So, and it's consistent, maybe a little, early, about 2010, 9.
So it's called maintenance of effort?
Yes.
Cities and towns have to give a level funding at a minimum.
Yeah.
However, the state does not have that same requirement. So.
I think
so
that there
there's
should be something.
And I will agree with you on that. Numerous council people in different towns and state reps, they're probably all gonna get together and start talking about this, because it's not just a burden on, it's. Like I said, 4 years ago, it wasn't really sticking out at 40,000. It's sticking out at 80, and it's gonna stick out at 100, because when you're getting 30 to 40 of those children, and trust me, they deserve the same education, but when they're costing us 4 to 5 times the amount, that's the question that.
But they are getting the same education,
No, I know.
just costing us more. That's the thing.
And
Yeah.
we're not getting reimbursed for that, so it's coming out of
Yeah, so.
taxpayer for it, so it's kind of like, where do we put the effort, force, but, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment on the school budget? Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vote on that now, or do you want to wait and vote on everything at the end? Vote, because we have to switch lines. Right now, it's an appropriation if we're going to move it to fund balance in 1090.
We're gonna vote tonight, we're gonna vote tonight and next week.
Every time you change a line, vote. So if you don't change any lines tonight, then you don't have to vote. You're gonna.
So currently,
We're earmarking 500,000, not for maintenance of effort, unless needed.
so Kristen, you want to move, the vote would be to move it from,
The school appropriation line
yes,
to general government, the fund balance line. 500,000.
so I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
Move and second, any discussion on that?
So we're, just to make sure we're not on the hook if something comes up, we don't have to give the 500, it would be.
Correct.
Could be nothing, could be something.
If the state gives them $10 million, we're not going to give them a thing.
So,
That's not,
so,
yeah.
just easy, if we give them the 500 now, it's maintenance of that.
Right,
And then next, and let's say the state aid comes and gives them another 400,000, well, then you're gonna say, okay, now you're plus 900,000, what happened, right?
Yeah.
So, to be, on caution and see what the state does, that's why we're going this route. So I have a motion and seconded. Do you have any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor for the West Warwick Public School budget? Opposed, ayes have it, and I'm sorry, now we able to speak, Councilman Messi, I had a family emergency, so you had to step away. We'll be certain to amend that on our next one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
I don't want to go about this, you just want to go page by page, or?
The suggestions that were sent out, do you want to?
Yeah, we
those
probably
first
do
and
want to
then-
tackle those.
I sent an email. So the first one would be the discussion about the proposed adding another part-time person to minimum housing. That was in his memo he sent, with the associated payroll taxes. So the total add would be 48,405.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
So the total add would be 48,405 if we did the equivalent of the person that's in there now with another part-time. We didn't add benefits because being a part-time, not the benefit, like, health benefit.
I have mixed feelings about this because I think I made it clear, West Warwick is not a town that, if anything, we need more minimum housing and more building official help. We have a lot of building going on here. I would like to see somebody who can do both those to help out. I had a brief discussion with Bob and the amount of construction that's going on. I'm not saying Bob's gonna miss anything or anything like that, but run a guy out. I mean, there's a lot of building going on around here. It's not, and there's also a lot of minimum housing violations and, houses that are just putting trash out, curbside. And since the snow's going, I want the snow back because it looks so clean. But now that it's melted, it's like everything's coming ice in certain areas, and I just don't think we can go 3 days a week on minimum housing. I think we need it 5 days, if not more, and it's definitely not a position that needs to be part-time. And again, that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know how much everybody else deals with. I know I have my areas. I could probably say Councilman Messia has his areas that become headaches on occasion, and it's hard. And then if you take Bob out and have to go do minimum housing, now we're falling short on actual inspections, and it is tough. And you can hear it from the fire side, like they're busy with inspections and on top of meeting Bob and everything else. And I'm just saying, one guy's running around, two guys really, it's one guy's now 3 days a week, 24 hours, and one guy is probably way more than 40. But, I see his car here in the morning and late at night, so it's definitely, I know it's a little bit of money, but for the, was it 30, 20 something, how much thousand you added?
48,405 total for another 24 hours. And again, we can work out the logistics on
What
the
the job duties
qualifications on
are.
hiring and job responsibilities later, but for the sake of budgeting, our recommendation is to add 48,405 to the salary and the payroll tax and associated expenses.
Want to keep going?
So just to clarify, this person was working 24 hours a week.
That's the proposal for now. We can adjust that based on needs and however we set up a job description and responsibilities.
So our current minimum housing is
24.
Right.
So we're looking at,
48 hours.
Yeah, 48.
Mark, is it 48,405 or is it 44,965?
44,965 is the salary. I didn't include the payroll taxes in my memo.
And my vision, just mine, that's up to HR and up to whoever, but I have a good throw out there that I'd like a person who has maybe retired or whatever, that has building experience, can do inspections and help Bob out, and also go help Chuck out when he's not here or, so I'm looking for a dual role.
I don't think, well, I certainly agree that we need more we need more manpower there. So I have no problem with doubling, which is basically what we're doing, and adding $48,000. How it gets divided, how the job description gets written, it's up to you guys. I don't,
So what happens when the 24, thinking of the future, the 24-hour position now, which is currently full 5 days? If that were to go back to that, we'll be looking at a full-time and a part-time.
which quite honestly, as David said, with all the building going on, with all the issues we have, I don't think but
It
we
could
can
be a reduction.
But we can also revisit it next year. I mean, this isn't a lifelong commitment kind of thing, right?
So if you remember properly, years ago, there was 2 building officials, a minimum housing, full-time. There was, I think, 3 clerks up there. It was pretty hectic but then when time slowed down and the building stopped, that's where we cut. We're down to 1 building official, a floating clerk and a clerk. A floating clerk from upstairs to downstairs, and now a part-time minimum housing. But as the boom is going through here with all this building going on, condos, and Bob shared something with me, which I learned new was the businesses that are being built, or they're secondly inspected by a private company that signs off also, because, he and I were talking about if he's missing stuff or who's responsible, and he told me there's also another company that signs off on it. Now, on the residential side, it's on Bob, the fire department, everybody who gives their CO, but on the business side, is it condos too, Bob? Any commercial buildings, so any commercial building is signed off by an independent inspector also. So, but all the other stuff like condos and apartments, it gets hectic. So, yeah, that's just a proposal I know I threw out there. Want to keep going and we just.
Whatever you guys want to do, yeah. So the next subject was parks, not filling 1 position, which was a total of 77,795 with the position and benefits.
He said he was doing it already without that position, so there's no sense of filling that position. That's the position that I think, Mark, you co-opted there in the last.
Okay, and then in general government, we can remove 6,000 from the seasonal events line in the general government because of the 250 being over by June 30th. And then add a suggestion, the request of the extra 1,500 to be considered by council for the Patuxent River Authority. So the net of that change would be a decrease of, if those 2 changes were implemented, it would be another decrease of 4,500 to the general government line, general government department. And then we already discussed the school departments, and then the other one was the fire department holiday, and Chief Ron and I went over that a little bit more in detail today, and we think that number probably is okay.
Any questions for Kristen on those changes? Any public comment on those changes? Vote on those changes?
Yeah, you want to vote on them by department, or do you want to just
Well,
vote?
if everybody agrees with everything, we can just vote for one, or if you want to have a vote for each item.
I'm all set with, I'd approve all 4 of them. I mean, it's really, for the simple reason, we're in the plus with doing it.
Yeah,
So, and it makes sense where the needs are.
the total positive effect on the budget would be a decrease of 33,890 is the net of all those changes.
Yeah, well, tell me the building official again, 48,
40 salary portion.
no, just the whole thing, 48.
48,405.
So with that extra 24 hours to build it, and being part-time, we can play around with the hours, correct? Doesn't have to be a Monday through Friday, obviously not, but
The alternating days, it can be.
we could add,
days,
but we can add a Saturday piece to that, correct?
whatever we negotiate
wanna
and
do.
advertise for.
Yeah.
And also, if the individual that's qualified, maybe you find an individual who's qualified to do both, but they said they only want to do 20 hours a week or, 16 or whatever it is, we can work with that. But right now, we're authorizing up to 24.
Can we make sure that everyone's speaking into the mics because we have some communication that people can't hear on YouTube?
Okay,
So they can make sure, sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I'll lean in instead of leaning up.
It's showing that it's working on here. I can see my microphone moving, but it's not.
Okay.
We can just make sure. Thank you.
So I would make a motion that we approve the changes as outlined, building official, adding the part-time at 48,405. Leave the vacant position in parks at 77,795. In the general government line, removing 6,000 from seasonal because they don't have the Rhode Island 250 next year. And add 1,500 to Patuxent River.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now, let me make it fairly easy. We can go page by page, but instead of going page by page, does the council have anything? Then I'll open it up to the public. Does the council have any specific items that they looked at, concerned with, want to discuss, possibly cut?
I just have one question though, when we talked about the 4 and 4.5 earlier. Right, you brought up the 4, that we're
Yes.
still over, we have still trimmed down.
Yep, we have to get down to 4.
So where do you suggest that we do?
Well,
May
what
be
is
there
that?
now, with
That
those,
just-
It might be
with those
close.
adjustments.
It might be
we can
close.
do
No, probably. I can. Few seconds, I can tell you.
While she's doing that, I just want to bring up, I know, I sat down with Sherry last week, I had a couple of questions about cutting certain positions. And I know I reached out to Mark. Mark gave me his opinion on the positions that I thought about cutting, specifically one. And after, Mark and I discussed it. I'm not gonna say I didn't like his answer, I wanted more answers, so I had about an hour meeting with Sherry and sitting down with her, she's changed my mind on that one position. And hopefully, and I'll be honest with you, the assistant director of DPW. Because of snowstorms and everything, and then I saw the director, he was doing it. But when you look at everything, you can't depend on just a director to be here 24/7, 7 days a week. And, so she definitely sold me on the reasons being, and, I can share some of those reasons probably later on, but definitely sold the difference between me wanting to cut that position and keeping the position.
I do want to echo what Mark said in his opening comments that I believe there's not a lot of fat in this budget. I mean, everybody is always going to be able to come up and say, well, let's do that, and let's do that. We don't always live in that position. And the work that's getting done, I think our managers do a nice job and understand that what they propose does impact the budget, does impact the tax rate, and I think they're considerate of that. So I kudos to Mark and his group that have put the budget together. I do want to get to 4%. We did. Okay.
3.94 on the levy, 4% on the tax rate.
Percent to go.
Mind you.
Show me how you get
We're not
there.
done.
We're not done with assessed value. We're not done with,
Right.
yes.
Well, his changes today were good.
It could come the other way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So
Just keep that in mind. I see it changing more than a penny. but-
when we started to talk about the school bond and entertaining that we made that very clear to people that it was going to require 2-year 4% tax increase to cover the bond payments. and any operational expenses that will be incurred as we shift things around. So there's no surprise there, but I certainly would never, I mean, we said 4%, I would never go above 4%, so.
And we have bonus falling off.
It was a small portion, that was
For
why
this year, going next
Yeah.
couple of years or something.
going down there, it's small amounts, there wasn't anything really big falling off anytime in any near future.
I think the biggest one is going to fall off within the next 8 years.
No.
Either transfer funds or-
And that's not really part of general fund.
No, I know. that's
Um,
part of it.
But they were 20-year loans and we're only like 10 in. Believe it or not,
Oh, 10 is, I thought, 12.
2016. And I signed one when I got here, 2017, 2018.
Keeping track of time, like,
I sent that book. I'm sorry.
Any comments from the council?
Just a general question from my own knowledge. If we were to take the 1.3 debt service number out, the bond payment, where does that put us? Like, if that wasn't an item this year, just because
I
I'm.
would say it's
this might-
probably gonna put us close to 2. It would probably put us close to 2%.
All right, that's,
Which is where we typically a
Right.
little less than 2.
and
is
that's
what we
where I
look
wanted to
for.
reconcile
Yes.
it in my head,
Yep.
like kind of comparing where we are this year versus the last 2 times I've done this. Because that's the big factor this year.
Yeah, we've always been around that 2% mark, right?
Right.
And it's, again, it's 90% of it's salaries, benefits,
Right.
you know, it's not like we're out buying, I give you a nice Tahoe now, but I haven't seen it yet. I've seen it on social media, but I mean, personally, over the years, I think we have wonderful fleets, whether it's police, fire. Municipal could use a little bit more help, I understand, but, you know, but that's due to the hard work of the department heads, the grants, you know, and plus us doing, you know, plans to give some funding. But the last couple of years, we've cut the funding right out and said, figure it out, and, you know, thank you to the department heads that are figuring it out, because they continue getting grants and trying to keep the expenses low for the town, and, you know, we even talked about unprivatizing garbage at one time, but then realizing the expense of it, it's just the trucks alone destroy us financially. But it is a tough, you know, and I get it, and I get what you're saying, like, you know, 2% versus now it's 4%, right? 'Cause- and like you said, if you want to get down to that 2% again, find me $2 million in a budget that's been bare bones. I mean, even if you cut one position, great, but you gotta cut, to get down to that, I gotta cut 25 positions.
Yeah.
Tell me, and I said.
And that was a joke, that was
No,
not a serious.
No, I know.
Whoops.
No, and I say, it, you know, my neighbor and I, we had a lot of discussions on occasion when we bump into each other while I'm getting the mail. And he always asks me, what's this year's tax increase? And I always tell him it's roughly here. And he'll pick a moan and groan once in a while. And I'll ask him, I said, what services do you want me to cut? And we can maybe eliminate yard waste. But then what are you gonna do with your yard waste? We eliminate police and fire, public safety. You use it all the time. You know, and when we need it, they're there. And we've seen it, I've seen it, you know, they're there. And, you know, we have professional staff out there. If anybody's been to a situation, whether it's a fire or, you know, they always console the families, they check on everybody, that it's amazing work that they do. And it's tough, and, you know, even people have thrown out there over the years, shut down a fire station. Okay, which one, and which neighborhood's gonna get affected? You know, when you tell somebody, well, your mom and dad live here, we cut down that fire department, you need them, they have to travel 4 more minutes to your mother and father, or 6 more minutes, depending on traffic or whatever. What happens? Every minute counts, right? And that's how I've been selling it for years, and it's a very difficult time. I have found personally, these budgets have been a lot easier because there is nothing. We have done some crucifying over the years, and in cutting the budget and yes, we all say taxes suck. It's never gonna change, no matter what, taxes, and but we have to keep our town afloat too. We don't need bankruptcy, we don't need riffraff between the school department and the town council fighting all the time, and I gotta say, it's been the best 16 years since the bad days. So, again, I wanna thank everybody for what they did.
Keep in mind, this budget, and you can't do this forever, this budget has $33,000 in capital expenditures. You can't, you have to invest in the infrastructure. This year, we won't be able to unless we can find a little cushion, or we outperform the budget. Probably next year it'll be the same thing, but you can't do that. I mean, we see that with the roads. We sort of neglected for quite some time, and Mark's put a good plan in place to actually hit different neighborhoods a little bit at a time, so.
Drainage projects, you name
Right.
it, they'll have those in each area. I know Mary Beth has drainage issues, I know Ward 2 has drainage issues. And we have to look at that. I know we are working with state reps and whoever to help us try to get some of that funding back. So. Any other comments from the council? Now open it up to the public for open forum for anything on the budget. No comment? Open forum for the budget. Any questions, concerns, comments, ideas? Come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Money you want to give?
Don Cody,
Yeah.
92 and 94 Shippey Ave. I reside at 94 Shippey Ave. So today, as I stated, name's Don Cody. I'm a father, a landlord, and a volunteer youth boxing coach in the town. I lived here for over a decade. My mother's family has been in West Warwick before West Warwick was even established. And at one point, I was a single father living in this town, struggling to make ends meet. And I was working overtime every week, and I know how it feels to struggle financially while trying to keep a roof over mine and, more importantly, my daughter's head. And put food in the fridge all while taxes and rents continue to rise. I know how it feels to put diesel fuel in my old oil tank in the dead of winter because I couldn't afford the minimum for an oil delivery. And I know how it feels to pick and choose what bills need to be paid first because I've been there. I live the struggle that many of my fellow residents live today. Our town has some of the highest property taxes in the state. At this point, we may even have the highest, not positive, and I know a large portion of our town's elderly residents live on fixed incomes. And I know that the majority of our residents in general are good, honest, hardworking, middle-class people who are just trying to survive and make ends meet. And yes, I understand that the town needs more money. There's no doubt about that. I think we could all agree on that. But there's also no doubt that the residents that live here need money to live. They need money to survive. So with that being said, the majority of the people in this town can't handle more taxes. It can financially cripple them. It needs to be the town that takes the financial brunt of this, not the residents. So I ask, are you considering the financial struggles of our residents in your adoption of the budget? Because something's got to give, and that something shouldn't be the taxpayers. They pay more than enough.
So Don, I can tell you that that's all I think about when I'm going line by line through this budget. How will this affect people that are on fixed incomes who are getting squeezed more and more? And that's why I got a little passionate when Karen was up here about the mandates from RIDE. And it wasn't the place to say what I wanted to say about that, but our state legislators need to do a lot more work in getting that situation resolved, because it is, like I said earlier, it's literally breaking the financial backs of every municipality right now, right? I can tell you, being the most junior member on this body here, that, and it's been said already, there isn't a lot of fat here. There's zero fat here. Out of the budget every year, we might have, say, 8 to 10% where we could potentially make cuts, financial cuts, but then we're into the realm of cutting services. So it's not like we don't want to reduce the burden on our residents and our taxpayers. Everyone up here does. I can speak for everybody on that regard, but
Okay.
it's to answer your question, yes. That is the only thing I think about when I'm looking through these binders.
Appreciate that and I respect that.
We,
And to remind you, we all, I think we're all very confident in saying we look out for the taxpayer. I say the four of us here, if he was here, it was, we all pay taxes too. We're here in our own pocket too.
Yeah.
And we look at that,
Yeah.
and
that is one of the reasons we decided when we started talking about the needs of the school as far as changing buildings, putting in science rooms, getting the fifth graders out of the middle school. We decided that we're going to go to the voters and ask them. We're not just going to take that and assume everybody's okay with that. Thankfully, people did come out. It is a real need. So we do think about that all the time. There is no question about that. But we also have hardworking people here in town who deserve, there were a lot of years they went with no raises, and just like your costs are going up, their costs are going up too. So it's a difficult balance. As I said, I think that Mark does a great job. He had to deliver some difficult messages to some of the managers and say, no, you're not getting this. No, you're not getting this. You need to cut that. So, yeah, it's a tough time, but
Understood. I'm
Yes.
just hoping that we could figure something out in the long run because I talked to a lot of people in town and a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. And I know that, a decent amount of people turned down and voted, which was great. I always hope that a little more turns out. But the property tax increases that I've seen, since I bought my house, pretty crazy, and I know, like, I don't live on a fixed income. I can go and work more overtime if I need to. I'm very fortunate enough that I got a job that I've been with for a long time and I make decent money, not great money. But there's a lot of people, like I said, that are on fixed incomes that are struggling.
They don't have that opportunity.
Exactly.
right.
And that's what it does come into office. When you hear that, like when Karen came up about RIDE, it's like, I try to justify everything in, and if it doesn't make sense, you ask the question. That does not make sense to me at all, and it's almost like I feel compelled to do something about it. What do we do? I mean, I think we have to at this point, because next year, we're gonna be sitting here. And if superintendent comes up with another number that's out of her hands, it's not all, but we have to adhere to that number. And if we're already at 4%,
Right.
What do we do?
Exactly.
And we have to figure that out before like the night like tonight.
Absolutely.
And that's when it's gonna hurt. There's no question about it. It's gonna hurt somehow, somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think one of the most important things that we can do is just make sure that there's transparency throughout this process,
Correct.
which I wholeheartedly believe there is. There's nothing in front of us here that isn't available to everybody in this room or beyond. We've had these documents put in binder form in front of us, and I can tell you, even as early as, or as recent as this morning before I went to work, I was sitting down with Karen's and going line by line. And I was alone, but I can tell you, I was probably shaking my head, like in the sense that there's nothing I can find. There's no gotcha moment or aha, here's where you're misstepping. I can't find it if it's happening in anything.
You look, it's like, all right, miscellaneous, what, $2,000 in paper, cut it to 1,000, It's things like that don't make any sense. I mean, you're really nickel and diming and penny pinching that doesn't bring anything down. So.
The other big concern is actually going ahead and making a cut, if you will, and then it doesn't materialize. The expenses go beyond that cut. And just to make cuts to say we made cuts is not doing anybody, including those who are on fixed incomes, any favors.
That's actually a very good point, Mark, because you could sit here and say, you know what, all right, we're gonna take that number, we're gonna bring it down by 100,000, when we know that it's gonna be 100,000 more. That's not a real budget. So I appreciate you being here, number one, so that's a good thing.
thank you. I
Yes,
appreciate the transparency.
yeah.
Thank you.
one thing during the budget, I know during the 2 workshops that we had is, department heads come up here and they tell us about their budget, and you know, one thing that's always a shocker is the amount of runs that, you know, police and fire do. Never mind what DPW had to do this year, we're over budget in our snow budget this year, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right?
I can only imagine.
And no matter who it is, like when you listen to the fire chief up here and say how many runs, you know, unfortunately, we don't get the ages, you know, but we do hear about the runs. But I bet you that majority are the elderly or, you know, people with health issues and stuff like that. And, you know, and knock on wood, we've had a few fires here this year, but when they get those calls at 0 degrees, you know, we had one here just in February that 0 degrees, I don't think they're trying to spray water on a fire that it's freezing midair. It's not even, you know, so imagine if we cut those positions and there's not enough people to put a fire out or
We definitely
not enough
cut
to
those
save
positions.
your parents or whatever. Then the next year, that person will come in and crucify us for making that cut.
Yep.
You know, and I was younger when they cut trash in this town for a little while. If everybody remembers, people just throwing the stuff on the sidewalks, they didn't care.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, somebody's gonna come pick it up. We don't need that. You know, and that's why, one of the reasons why I want, you know, same thing with minimum housing, you know, because this is not a town that we can, you know, we have our white areas and times. And unfortunately, we have some absentee landlords who don't pay attention. And I'm glad you live right next door, because now I know you're probably keeping care of your property and your
Absolutely.
tenants.
Yes.
But, you know, some of these companies out in Boston don't care, right? And they just let it go. But we need that minimum housing person to do that job. We need the building official to help with that when we need it.
Yes.
Those are the things that, you know, like I said earlier, when we had an excess of staffing in the building department, we went from 2 building officials to 1. We went to, you know, minimum housing, we went from 3 clerks to 1 and 1.5, you know, so don't worry, if we have to cut, we try to cut wherever we can. Just right now, it's, you know,
There's no fat to trim.
it's
It's
very
really
tough.
not, and we do have an example of that. So the Parks Department has a vacant position and they have said, you know what? Don't fill it. So that allows us to save that money. So that position's gonna remain vacant. They step up and they do what they need to, but we also have to make sure the job gets done. So, again, I appreciate you being here.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Been a while. Cool. Been a while.
Eric Reed, 19 Peters Lane. One thing I want the council and the town manager to look into is this garbage contract. I can tell you for sure, it's not being met. You're watching these garbage trucks around town, one guy driving, that same guy driving, getting out, emptying the can, getting back in, going next house, getting. The production level is no good. I know from firsthand from my house. Just last week when I was away, I had my mother-in-law watching my house. Garbage man came, the garbage, recycling didn't come till the following day. Okay, we're paying, as a taxpayer, the contract. We need somebody to hold into the contract, and if they're not doing the contract to 100%, that we're paying 100%, it's time to fire them and get somebody else. Now, when you sign the contract, I wasn't here that night. I knew what was going on internally, that there was a buyout going on. The worst thing to do was to sign a contract.
Well before that contract.
No, it wasn't done yet. Wasn't done. Inaugural wasn't done. Okay? So to sign a contract with all that going on, combining all these different companies, you knew something was gonna happen. Guaranteed. They just exploded and now they can't do it. The other thing is, I'm seeing trucks breaking down on the road, dropping hydraulic fluid in gallons on roads, diesel fuel in gallons on roads. Are we holding them to cleaning that up and repairing the asphalt? Because once you put hydraulic fluid on asphalt, it turns to mush. Once you put diesel fuel, it turns to mush, especially when the sun comes. I don't know if we're holding them to that. But this whole garbage thing, I'm seeing on social media, I'm seeing it myself. They have a contract. If they can't hold the contract, just like me, if I can't do my job with the contract that I do with the commercial housing I do, then I can't fault them for looking for somebody else. So we need to look into that.
So there's more to the story. And some of that story is on the state on waste management at, I say the state, the landfill. You change their hours. So these guys are starting, and by the way, they can't stop until 7 AM here in town. We can let them start at 6 or 5, but, actually, I'm sorry, they now start at 6, but that's because of state closing an hour earlier. And so now when the truck fills up and they get up there and it's closed, that's why they're doing trash at
So
7 o'clock.
that's not your fault. That's not your problem.
I
It's their obligation to get more trucks. You know what I mean? That's not your problem, that's not my problem, that's their problem. If they can't do it,
Trust
find
me,
somebody
we
that can.
have trash problems, we make phone calls, we do.
But are we paying the bills on time, what they're not giving us the service on time? We shouldn't be paying the bills on time if we're not getting the service on time.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure there are a lot of alternatives that are all that much better, and I'll ask Mark to comment on last RFP. How many responses did we get?
One.
Thank you.
How many solicitations do you make, or do we just wait for them to hit the website?
Well, I don't solicit, no.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
And you can call them for the bid,
Uh,
sure you can. I get calls to bid on things, commercial,
Again,
municipal. I just don't do union work.
I think the
Bless
biggest,
you. Bless
the
you.
biggest issue with the last one is the companies that may bid need close to a year lead time in order to provide a real bid, because if they need to get it, they need to order trucks and hire staff. And I think the last time we did it, it was 4 or 5 months in advance of an expiration, lesson learned on our part.
Correct.
For the next time, maybe doing a little more advanced homework to allow for more competition.
And I'm not gonna
Trust
disagree with
me,
you.
we are all
The quality has not
frustrated.
been-
We are all frustrated. That might be one of the number one calls I
get
get,
the
that my
blizzard, though.
garbage didn't get picked up, or, I mean, we get that I get that every single week.
I
don't
mean,
know
I
if
was
you-
taking
yeah,
trash from my house and putting it in my dumpster in my building.
Yeah,
Now I gotta pay to get rid of it twice.
so it is a source of frustration. There's no doubt about it. As Mark said, lesson learned. We will go out earlier next time and hopefully get some others to bid.
That's number one. Number two is in the DPW part of things. I know that there's 2 trucks to get rented now. Is it more feasible to rent one and buy one 1 year and then not rent another one and buy one the following year? And you don't have to, I mean, there's a lot of nice used trucks out there nowadays. So instead of continuously renting, do we, to try to save money, buy one and rent one? And then the following year, buy another one and not rent any?
Again, that number is a huge number in a budget that we don't have any wiggle room. If we can't give 500,000 to the schools automatically, giving
I
it
didn't say
to,
500.
Hmm?
I didn't say 500.
Well, what kind of truck are you talking about?
Guarantee you, I could probably go get a Snap 750 within 5 years old with a plow and a sander on it already
Well,
in the
again,
50s.
again,
Let me go buy it.
all
Need the money.
all capital has been cut from this budget. It had to be, except
I
for
mean,
33,000.
we're all very open to trying to
Absolutely.
find the best
we can,
deals.
yep.
I mean, we do have some obstacles with procurement rules on getting 3 bids or be on the master price agreement, and
Yep.
sometimes used equipment
Doesn't
um,
fall in, right.
is a real challenge. But obviously, we understand you can get some real deals there, so when it's appropriate, we explore that. Try to make the best decision we can.
The market out there is pretty full
We
right
should be
now.
looking at government surplus, we should be looking
Yeah.
at all that stuff.
A lot.
But that's on, when I say the department head, we're looking, and I know he's looking,
I know.
because I know he sends me a backhoe here and there, because he knows I was looking.
Yeah.
So I know he's looking, because he sends it to me. And I know why he's looking. He's
But the
looking
biggest
for
thing right
results.
now is the garbage thing. The contract is the
It's a-
contract, and it's
It's
just,
frustrating.
you go back to the minimum hauling thing with trash. I mean, now you got residents that have trash barrels that are overflowing because if they don't come on their day, they don't come at all. They come the following week. So then now we got, and then I already told you, I'm seeing rats, which is gonna be the next thing we're gonna battle, because I'm not having rats at my new house. I'm sorry. But it's kind of hard to stop that when you have overflowing trash cans. around, let alone some other stuff that we can discuss away from here. But I just, one of them things is just driving me crazy.
Understood.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Any other public comment on the budget? Concerns, questions, ideas? Hearing none?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Our next public hearing is April 7th, 6 P M.
And just to clarify, there's a third date that is only if necessary. We would actually hope to wrap it up on April 7th. So just letting people know that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.